often overestimate the duration of our bad moods and underestimate our capacity to adapt and bounce back from traumas, even if things feel hopeless, depressing, or stressful in the thick of it. And we've all experienced stress before, sometimes on a daily or even hourly basis. Much like anger or joy, stress can slowly build and simmer, or it can strike suddenly and with great intensity. And yeah, stress, certainly the chronic or extreme type, can be bad for your health, but defining stress is trickier than you might think. Psychologists would define stress as the process by which we perceive and respond to certain events, or stressors that we view as challenging or threatening. In other words, stress isn't technically an emotion, it's more of a reaction to a disturbing or disruptive stimulus. And our reactions stem in part from our appraisal of that stimulus. A person can either roll with or get worked up about a missed flight, an increased workload, or a strange thump in the house. These external stressors typically fall into three main categories: catastrophes, or unpredictable large-scale events like war, natural disasters, and terrorist attacks; significant life changes, things like moving, having a child, losing or getting a job, or the death of a loved one; and then just everyday inconveniences like getting caught in traffic, running late, or feuding with your roommates. Any of these stressful events, big or small, even the good things, can fire up your sympathetic nervous system and trigger that old fight or flight response. In this way, it's important to understand that stress is ultimately natural. You experience it for a reason, and a bit of short-lived stress can actually be a good thing. It can make you active and alert when you need to be. Like an upcoming chemistry test might be stressing you out, but that might help you find focus so you can dominate that thing. And in your body, moderate stress can kick the immune system into action to do things like heal wounds and fight infections. It does this by triggering the release of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These chemical messengers are what get your organ systems to respond the way you need them to when you're getting charged by a bear, or focusing really hard on the gas law for your chemistry test. But they're also why chronic stress can really wreck a body and mind. Research has shown that abused children have a high risk of chronic disease, and people suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which we'll talk about in an upcoming episode, experience higher rates of digestive, respiratory, circulatory, and infectious diseases. A lot of these negative connections between your body's systems have to do with the fact that many of its most basic functions, like blood pressure, breathing, body temperature, digestion, and heartbeat, are in part regulated by the autonomic nervous system. We've talked before about how the sympathetic side of that system cranks you up and the parasympathetic arm calms you down, but both those systems also interact with the so-called brain in the gut, the enteric nervous system, which helps regulate gastrointestinal functioning. And it's this brain-gut connection that explains how stress causes digestive problems, because when that werewolf pops out of the bushes and a wave of cortisol washes through you, your body wants to focus its energy on sending blood to your muscles so that you can react quickly, which is good, right? But it may do that partly by shutting down digestion or decreasing the amount of digestive secretions and making your colon spasm. An anxious mind can lead to an anxious gut. Stress is an even bigger risk factor in North America's leading cause of death: heart disease, because it contributes to increased blood pressure, heart rate, and cholesterol levels in a number of different ways. Essentially, when your stressed out nervous system is redirecting all of its energy sources to your muscles and brain, it pulls flow away from your other organs. And one of those organs is the liver, whose job includes removing the fat and cholesterol from your blood. So basically, when a stressed liver can't filter properly, that extra fat and cholesterol ends up circulating in your blood, which can settle around the heart. So believe me, one study monitored the blood cholesterol and clotting speed of 40 male tax accountants throughout the year, and it found that their cholesterol and clotting rates, and thus risk of heart attacks, increased dramatically during the weeks before tax day as they stressed out about finishing their work. And physiologically speaking, it's worth pointing out that some close relatives to stress, when it comes to their effects on the body, are pessimism and depression, which also have been linked to stress and heart disease. Many types of studies have found that people characterized by their optimism, happiness, love, and positive feelings often live significantly longer than their grumpy, dour counterparts. Researchers don't quite know exactly how chronic negative emotional states influence health, but it may be some combination of lifestyle or behavioral factors, like neglecting your health or not taking your heart meds when you're feeling blue, or social factors like the way that depression can be isolating and thus prevent others from helping you out, or biological factors like increases in certain kinds of inflammatory proteins released by the immune system in response to stress and sadness. So in the end, while stress may not directly cause disease, you could say that the two walk hand in hand. In that way, it isn't a stretch to say that chronic stress can kill. So go ahead, take a deep breath, feel your emotions, appreciate them, but don't let them run your life. Today, we talked more about how our emotions work and how we use facial expressions to help us communicate. We also looked at the two-dimensional model of emotional experience and how anger, happiness, and depression can affect our health. We also discussed what stress does to your nervous system and how chronic stress can damage the functioning of your body.
And my friends, you are about to hear the shittiest rap ever rapped about stress. Because, see, I keep it on topic. I'm talking about the shittiest rap ever rapped. It's worse than the forefathers doing the Father's Day rap. It's worse than that.
The script supervisor is Michael Aranda, who is also our sound designer, and the graphics team is
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
DJ Blake! Yeah. Stress. 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 What a mess. I've got chronic stress. Waking up got me all depressed. Chronic stress, it's worse than the rest. I'm feeling exhausted on the GAS. I can't take this stress over the court. Gotta outreach for some social support. But I can do more than just an internet port. Envious our bodies gonna help me support. KTap in my mindful bay, making my life feel okay. But mindfulness ain't the only way. Yoga exercises can change my day. But the stress is just way too much. Sleep deprived, don't want my lunch. Immune system's down, hurts a bunch. Biopsychosocial model is my doctor's hunch.
I mean, he's so white. Can't even keep rhythm. For Christ's sake. Please just stop. Please stop. He's not going to stop.
Someone to help me out. What a mess, I got chronic stress. Waking up got me all depressed. Chronic stress, it's worse than the rest. I'm feeling exhausted on the GAS. The cognitive approach is my only hope. Problem-focused coping, we're a direct approach. But I've lost control, I cannot cope. Emotion-focused coping, let's get a coach. The transitional model of stress didn't help out, made me worse than the rest. Turns out Lazarus and Folkman aren't the best. Getting rid of my stress is one hell of a test. We're going at it and getting busy. Damn, this stress is making me dizzy. Looking for the stress, but I'm feeling frizzy. Dizzy, frizzy, trizzy, damn, I'm trippy. Suddenly, I found the source. Change the routines, lower my life force. Home draw scale got me feeling hoarse. Death of a spouse, but no remorse. What a mess, I've got chronic stress. Waking up got me all depressed. Chronic stress, it's worse than the rest. I'm feeling exhausted on the GAS. I'm feeling exhausted on the GAS. Feeling exhausted on the GAS.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I had to do that to y'all. Yeah, he's feeling exhausted on the GAS. You know, there's a part of me at this age that has become the old man that says, hey, young man, I want you to make it, man. I can see you struggling. I want you to claw up the mountain, the one that's trying to beat your ass back down into the sea. Crawl up to the cliffs of Thermopylae. You can do it. And then I hear this guy, and I say to myself, okay, that could be Andy Bong. I don't know for sure. But whoever it is has failed massively. And they've done it just good enough so that I know they're not clowning. They're really trying to sound good. I heard the song and I was like, okay, I need some stress songs to kind of go with my theme tonight. And when I heard the song, I have, here's how my studio looks, which is actually a back porch. So you have almost all windows on 3 sides and then a brick wall. And then the glass door that goes into my house. I wanted to run into the brick wall as hard as I could so that not only would I not hear him anymore, I'd be knocked out, but typically you forget things that happened to you a couple of minutes right before a serious brain impact. Yeah, I wanted to knock myself out so that I wouldn't hear the song or remember the song. But then I thought, it's going to fuck up my back worse, and I got to move shit. So I thought, let's go through this torture. Let's go ahead and hear the song. But I want to share it with my friends. I want to share this torture. I want you to know what I went through. You heard the song. And I salute you. If you made it through that song and you haven't left and gone to another show or are off watching YouTube videos, I salute you, man, for hanging in there. Now, this next clip that we're going to do, and then I'm going to go freestyle after that, is going to be just kind of going into some extra detail about what we talked about earlier, stress, but also just basic different emotions. And guys, I'll tell you, I don't attract many girls to this show. So we guys need this more than anything because we don't do well at expressing emotions, and yet you're feeling them. I mean, especially on a Father's Day if you've got kids. You're feeling them. You feel them all the time. But most cultures teach you don't show that. Don't show anybody that. Don't show when you're sad. Try not to even show when you're mad. Just be a stone-faced pillar. Okay? Don't ever show anything. Stoic is the way. That's how you're going to be a real man. And I'm afraid that what happens there is that men bottle up and then men explode. And the question is, in which way do they explode? Do they explode in a physical fight? Do they explode into the crack pipe or the heroin needle? Do they explode by driving their car 170 miles an hour, assuming it'll go that fast, into a brick wall? Something's got to give. The human being is flexible but still breakable. Let's listen to what Homeboy has to say here. This is called Feeling All the Feels, another crash course in psychology. This is episode number 25. Stick with me through this and we'll go freestyle after. It's going to last 10 minutes.
Mel Gibson did it, Tom Cruise nearly busted Oprah's couch doing it, and Kanye pretty much has owned it for years now. Talking about expressing too much emotion, usually in public and in weird and often insensitive ways. Such regrettable outbursts are not unique to celebrities, of course, and they can be enough to make us think of our emotions as irrational, but they're not. Well, not usually. When they're not getting the better of us, they have work to do. Part of their job is to provide the energy and motivation that lets us meet our goals and our needs, and despite the occasional public fail, they often improve our performance in a given situation. So emotions play an important role in how we think and behave. Of course, when they blow up and someone screams at a flight attendant or punches a paparazzo or jumps on stage and grabs the mic away from a teenager in the middle of her acceptance speech to say that someone else deserved the honor more, all hail Beyonce, you're kind of off the rails of normal emotional function. Okay, definition time. General idea. Emotion is a mind and body's integrated response to a stimulus of some kind. Emotions involve physiological arousal, expressive behaviors, and conscious experience. These can be short flashes or long, lingering responses, and they can be very clear or very confusing. Say you're walking home at night and you hear footsteps behind you. Physiological arousal occurs in the form of your heart pounding. Your expressive behaviors could be like quickening your pace or moving toward a street light, and your conscious experience may include thinking, oh, I'm gonna get mugged now? Is this like a werewolf behind me? Feeling, fear and panic. We know those three pieces are there, but psychologists are still puzzling out exactly how they fit together. How do thinking and feeling interact? Which one comes first? And do these bodily reactions, the pounding heart, the need to pee, the sweaty palms, come as a result of the thought I'm scared, or did my tweaking out body trigger the thought in my brain? These are just some of the questions that we'll be looking at in this messy, exhilarating, and terrifying world of emotions. No one gets out unscathed. Our emotions represent and construct the big part of who we are. Think of how boring we would be, how boring the world would be without joy, embarrassment, heartache, or fear. What would motivate us to make decisions, be cautious or bold, or strive to understand each other? What would keep our humanity intact? And where would punk rock come from? No doubt, we need our emotions. But how do they work? Well, like apparently everything in psychology, there are a few different theories. In the late 1800s, pioneering American psychologist William James suggested that our feelings follow our bodily reactions to external situations. That, for example, you feel sad because you are crying, or you're scared because you're shaken like a leaf. This idea was also proposed by Danish psychologist Carl Lange, and so this concept that physiological arousal precedes emotion is called the James-Lange theory. But American physiologist Walter Cannon wasn't feeling it. He thought that too many of the body's reactions were too similar. A racing heart, fluttering stomach, and sweaty hands could be attributed to passion, fear, excitement,